God has given us His Word so that we can know God, know His mighty works and deeds in history. The Bible describes countless acts of God in history. In Old Testament and in the New Testament, we read of the mighty works of God through Jesus Christ. When we come to the book of Acts, we see God's hand on His apostles performing miracles, signs, and wonders. There was a lame beggar healed in Acts 3 through Apostle Peter. The sick and those afflicted with unclean spirits were brought to them for healing. Yet, one of the greatest miracles seen in this book is the conversion of souls. There were 3,000 saved on the day of Pentecost, and through another sermon, 2,000 were added to the faith. This does not count for all the others who were added daily to the fellowship of Christ. And we read about the dramatic conversion of Saul, who later became Apostle Paul. So God has been doing the impossible in history for a long time, and I believe He's still doing the impossible. Yet, we have a tendency to think that things will never change or will go from bad to worse. In the words of John Piper, Jesus Christ is not dead and He's not distant. He's not silent and He's not weak. He's not uninterested in the world and the progress of His mission and in your life. He is alive, and what He began to do in earthly life, He's continuing to do. He's full of surprises for churches, for nations, for families, and for individual people. Dear fellow believer, God is in the business of turning things and people around. And the exciting thing about all is that He uses people to minister these great feats. God has left us here to help other people, and the biblical word for that is ministry. So God didn't leave us here for us to satisfy ourselves or pamper ourselves or indulge ourselves, but to help others. So what are you doing for others? Today I want to encourage you from Acts chapter 9, 32 to 35. You can read here God uses Peter. God uses people who are already in action for a greater work. He does not go to the dusty shelf of the dilapidated, non functioning Christian and give his work for them to do. God uses people who are already in the mainstream flow of what He's doing. Peter comes to a man by name Aeneas, bedridden for 8 years beyond the help of medical knowledge of that day. Peter goes to this man and ministers to his need. Peter calls and says, Aeneas, Jesus Christ heals you. Rise and make your bed. William Barclay wrote, we think too much of what we can do and too little of what Christ can do through us. As soon as Peter spoke, Aeneas was healed by Christ, and all the residents of Lydia and Sharon saw him and turned to God. They turned to the Lord, which means more than just a change of mind, but a change of direction. That is, change one's way of living as God would want, or change and live like God would want one to live. So there was conversion, a miracle of restoration. All things are possible with God, and God can do that work of impossibility through you if you are ready to rise up from your comfort zone. Be blessed.